The stars were shining like diamonds in the black sea of space, and in the middle of this endless night, a strange creation floated quietly. It was not a planet, not a ship, but a puzzle made of light and energy. The kind of thing that should not even exist. It was called the Star Puzzle, and the Alien Council said it was the greatest test of intelligence in the galaxy. The puzzle looked simple at first, glowing shapes turning slowly in the dark, each piece shining with patterns that looked almost like constellations. But anyone who tried to solve it knew the truth. It was not simple at all. Every move created 10 more problems. Every connection broke another. It was like the puzzle was alive, mocking those who touched it. The Alien Council had invited the smartest beings from many species to try it, and all of them had failed. Hours of work, days of thinking, and still the puzzle laughed back with its burning light. The rules were unknown. The answers seemed hidden. Yet the aliens could not stop trying, because whoever solved the puzzle would prove themselves the most advanced mind in the stars. In the great hall of the council, the puzzle floated above the ground, glowing like a captured sun. Scientists, leaders, and soldiers from many worlds filled the seats. Some took notes, others whispered with serious faces, and a few simply stared in fear. One elder alien, his eyes like cold glass, spoke loudly. This puzzle is the measure of all minds. If a species cannot solve it, they are not ready for the future. His voice echoed, and the crowd nodded in silence. One by one, the challengers stepped forward. They tried, they sweated, they struggled. Some lasted hours, others only minutes. But in the end all gave up. Some walked away in shame, some cried in frustration, and some refused to speak at all. The puzzle had beaten them. When the turn came for the human, the room changed. Laughter spread among the aliens. Whispers turned sharp, and eyes rolled in disbelief. A human! Impossible. One alien sneered. They are too young as a species, too emotional, too wild. Another chuckled. They cannot control themselves. How can they control a puzzle made of stars? The human was young, maybe too young. His face still carried the softness of youth. His eyes were bright, and his steps were calm. He walked into the center as if he had walked into a quiet park on Earth, not into the greatest challenge of the galaxy. He looked up at the glowing puzzle, tilting his head like someone studying a strange painting on a wall. Around him the aliens laughed louder. Some even placed bets, coins of energy passing hands. He will last 5 minutes? One alien hissed. No, 3 minutes, said another. He will not even understand what he is looking at. The puzzle glowed brighter, its pieces spinning like slow planets, lines of light crawling across its surface. The human raised one eyebrow. Then he smiled, a small, almost careless smile. He reached out his hand, and the glowing shapes responded. The room went quiet for a moment, as if even the air wanted to see what would happen next. The Alien Council leaned forward in their seats, their eyes sharp, their hearts proud. They were waiting for the human to fail. They wanted him to fail. For hours the puzzle had crushed the greatest minds of the galaxy. So how could this fragile creature from Earth even begin to fight it? But the human was not afraid. He did not look nervous. He did not even sweat. Instead, he tapped his fingers lightly, almost like he was listening to music that no one else could hear. He circled the puzzle slowly, his eyes moving with strange speed, catching patterns, noticing lines, remembering shapes. The aliens muttered. What is he doing? One asked. Does he even know how to start? Another whispered. Maybe he is only pretending. Humans love to pretend. Minutes passed. The human still studied, not rushing, not panicking. His calmness was more unsettling than failure. Some aliens shifted in their seats, suddenly less sure. The young human looked up at the glowing puzzle again, and this time, his smile widened. He had seen something that no one else had seen. The crowd did not know it yet, but the game was about to change, the laughter was about to die, and the galaxy was about to learn a lesson it would never forget. The silence in the hall did not last long. Soon the whispers returned, growing like waves in a storm. The aliens could not believe what they were watching. A human standing so calm before the impossible puzzle. It felt wrong. It felt strange. One alien with long silver arms leaned toward his neighbor, his voice sharp and cold. He does not even know where to begin. Watch him fail. He will break like the rest. His neighbor, a creature with glowing eyes, chuckled darkly. Yes, but humans are entertaining. Maybe he will panic. Maybe he will cry. At least it will give us a show. Laughter spread again, some soft, some cruel, the sound rising and echoing across the chamber. A few aliens slapped their tails. Others clicked their claws, mocking the young human without mercy. They had seen humans before. They had read the records. Humans were emotional, reckless, and often foolish. What chance did one human have against the greatest puzzle in the galaxy? But not everyone was laughing. In the upper rows of the hall, a group of older scientists watched with careful eyes. One of them, an ancient scholar with a face like carved stone, frowned deeply. "Do you not see it?" he muttered. "He is not lost. He is not confused. He is thinking. He is watching. That is no panic on his face. That is something else." His words were ignored by most. The council was too busy enjoying the spectacle. A leader from a warrior species slammed his fist into the table, his armor rattling. "This is an insult to the council. We give them honor. And they send us a child. They send us a boy to face the puzzle. Earth mocks us." Another alien hissed, his voice soft but filled with poison. "Or perhaps they are desperate. They know they cannot win. So they send someone to make us laugh. And then they will say they tried. Pathetic, foolish humans." Still the human stood there, calm, watching, his hand resting at his side, his eyes sharp and bright, and with every passing second, the noise in the hall grew stronger. Aliens debating, mocking, arguing, some furious, some amused. One alien whispered with unease, what if he surprises us?" But his words were swallowed by the noise. No one wanted to hear such a thought. No one wanted to believe that humans could succeed where they had failed. A tall counselor finally stood, his robes shimmering with power, his voice thundering across the chamber. "Enough. Let the human continue. We will see his failure soon. And then all will know the truth, that Earth is not ready for the stars." The crowd grew quiet again, but in that quiet, tension burned like fire. Some leaned forward with hungry eyes, waiting for the moment of failure. Others watched with curiosity they could not admit. The puzzle glowed brighter as if feeding on the emotions in the room. The human lifted his hand at last, his fingers brushing against the light of the puzzle, and the entire hall held its breath. Even the ones who hated him the most could not look away. Something strange was happening. The puzzle responded, glowing warmer, shifting slightly as if it had been waiting for him. Gasps filled the chamber. Shock rippled across the rows. Aliens who had mocked him seconds ago now stared with wide, unblinking eyes. One muttered, That has never happened before." Another whispered, "It welcomed him, for the first time since the challenge began." The laughter died completely, the voices fell silent, and only one thought filled the minds of the aliens. What if the human was not here to fail? What if the human was here to win? The young human stood in the circle of light, his shadow stretching across the polished floor of the alien hall. Around him the crowd of alien leaders, scientists, and soldiers stared with hungry eyes, some expecting comedy, others expecting failure, but no one expecting victory. He was calm, too calm for the moment, his breathing steady, his shoulders relaxed, his hands resting at his sides, while before him floated the star puzzle, the impossible creation that had broken every great mind in the galaxy. The puzzle spun slowly, its glowing fragments moving like pieces of a broken sun, shifting and realigning. Never still, every line of light carried secrets. Every pattern teased answers but gave nothing. It was a storm of brilliance and madness. Most challengers before him had stepped forward with heavy expressions, their brows tight, their bodies tense. They had come with pride, with books of knowledge in their heads, with theories and logic sharp as blades, and all of them had failed. But this human, he tilted his head slightly, almost curious, like a man staring at a cloud and trying to see shapes inside it. The corner of his mouth lifted in the smallest smile, a smile that unsettled the audience more than anger or fear ever could. The counselors whispered again, their voices carrying across the chamber. "Does he even know what he is looking at?" One hissed, "He is too simple, too untrained. He cannot even begin." Another scoffed, "He is pretending, he wants to look calm, but inside he must be afraid." Yet the human did not tremble. He took one step closer to the glowing sphere, and the air around him hummed. The puzzle reacted again, faint ripples of light running across its surface, like water touched by a stone. More gasps filled the chamber. The human reached out slowly, not rushing, not greedy, just curious. And when his fingertips brushed the surface, the puzzle shifted in a way no one had ever seen. Pieces of light rearranged themselves, not collapsing, not resisting, but welcoming, as if the puzzle recognized him. The aliens leaned forward in shock. One slammed his clawed hand against the railing. Impossible. It never moved for us like that. Another hissed. It is chance. It must be chance. But deep down, unease was growing, because the human did not look surprised. He only nodded as if this was what he expected. His eyes scanned the glowing patterns, quick, sharp, not the wandering eyes of a lost thinker, but the eyes of someone already seeing the answer. He walked slowly around the puzzle, his steps measured, his gaze following the paths of light, and every time he shifted his view, the puzzle seemed to respond, its patterns glowing brighter in places he focused on, its pieces spinning smoother. The silence in the chamber became heavy, the kind of silence that pressed on the chest. Aliens forgot to laugh, forgot to whisper. Their eyes locked on the human as if watching a predator circle its prey. The young man finally spoke, his voice calm, almost soft. You were all looking at it the wrong way. His words carried across the chamber, and though they were simple, they landed like thunder. The counselors froze, their eyes narrowing. One barked. What did you say? Another demanded. You dare claim we are wrong? But the human did not argue, he only smiled again, his fingers tapping lightly as if counting a rhythm only he could hear. You saw numbers, codes, logic, he said. But this is not only about numbers, it is about patterns, about flow, about instinct. Sometimes the answer is not learned, it is felt. A low murmur spread through the crowd, aliens shaking their heads, some scoffing, some whispering to each other in fear. A few eyes darted nervously to the council leaders. Still the human moved, his hand brushing glowing lines, connecting paths with ease. Every touch shifted the puzzle, its fragments snapping into place like they had been waiting centuries for his hand. Within minutes shapes began to form, where before there had only been chaos. The counselors stared, their pride crumbling. The scientists blinked rapidly, unable to write fast enough. Soldiers shifted uncomfortably, as if facing an enemy they did not understand. One alien, his voice weak, whispered words that others were too afraid to say. He is solving it. The human heard the whispers, but he did not slow down. He did not look at them. He only kept working, every move clean, every choice confident. He was not guessing, he was not struggling. It was as if the puzzle had been made for him, as if all its secrets had been whispering in his ear since the moment he stepped inside the hall. The minutes stretched like hours for the crowd, tension wrapping tighter with every shift of light. Some aliens clutched the sides of their seats. Others dug their claws into the stone. The impossible was happening right before their eyes. And then the human stopped, his hand hovering just above the last piece. His smile calm, his eyes steady. He looked up at the silent crowd and said softly, "This was never hard." Before pressing his hand into the final piece, the star puzzle flared with blinding light, every fragment locking into perfect place, glowing brighter than ever before. The chamber was filled with a deep hum, a sound like victory and warning at once. The impossible puzzle, the one that had broken the pride of the galaxy, was solved, and it was solved by a human. The light from the puzzle filled the hall like a second sun. The shapes no longer scattered, no longer wild, but ordered, perfect, complete. For the first time since it was created, the star puzzle rested in silence. Its endless shifting had stopped. Its glowing paths aligned into a harmony of light that made even the walls of the chamber tremble. For a moment, no one breathed, no one moved. The alien council sat frozen, their eyes wide, their mouths open, as if the very air had been stolen from their lungs. Thousands of voices were caught in silence, broken only by the steady hum of the solved puzzle. The human stood calmly in the center of the chamber, the glow of the puzzle painting his face in gold and white. He looked neither proud nor arrogant, only calm, like a man who had just finished a small task. His hand rested at his side, his shoulders relaxed, and then he spoke. "You struggled because you looked at it as a cage," he said quietly, his words floating in the heavy silence. "But it was never a cage, it was a song, and songs are not solved with rules, they are solved with rhythm." The words were simple, But they shook the crowd more than the light itself. Some aliens frowned, trying to understand. Some muttered angrily, "Nonsense, meaningless human riddles." But deep inside, they knew it was true. A counselor, his skin like iron plates, slammed his hand against the table. His voice cracked with disbelief. "Impossible. This puzzle resisted our greatest scholars for hours, for days. And you, a child of Earth, solved it in minutes." The human only shrugged, his eyes never leaving the glowing puzzle. "You saw numbers," he said. "But humans, we see patterns, we see connections others miss. You count, we feel, you memorize, we improvise. That is why it was simple for us." The chamber erupted, voices colliding, shouts rising. "He cheated!" One alien roared. "The puzzle was flawed." Another screamed, "There must be a trick." Claws slammed into tables. Tails lashed against the floor. The proud council could not accept what they had just witnessed. But beneath the shouting there was fear. A fear no one wanted to speak, because every alien in the room had seen it with their own eyes. The puzzle had bent to the human's touch. It had responded to him as if waiting. It was not chance. It was not a trick. It was real. The ancient scholar from the upper rows stood slowly, his voice carrying above the chaos. "Do you not see? He is not cheating. He is not lying. The puzzle is whole. The solution is real. We are the ones who were blind." The words cut the noise for a moment, and in that stillness, the weight of the truth fell heavier than ever. The young human looked up at the alien faces, his expression calm, almost gentle. "You call yourselves advanced," he said. "Yet you chained yourselves to rules that do not exist. You searched for logic where you needed imagination. You demanded perfection when the answer was play." He lifted his hands slightly, pointing to the glowing harmony of the puzzle. "Sometimes the fastest path is not to think harder, but to think differently." The silence that followed was sharper than any shout. Aliens stared at him as if seeing him for the first time. Their pride wounded, their fear growing, because the truth was simple. A puzzle they could not touch without breaking had been solved instantly by a species they had mocked. One warrior alien leaned back slowly, his voice a whisper meant for no one but himself. "If humans can do this with puzzles, what will they do with war?" Another, a diplomat, pressed his claws together nervously. "What if they are not behind us, but ahead of us?" The counselors exchanged looks, some red with rage, some pale with shock, but all unsettled, because one truth was sinking into their hearts like a blade. Humans were not weak. Humans were not simple. Humans were something else, something dangerous. The puzzle glowed one last time, as if sealing the moment into history. Then it dimmed, resting at peace, its light sinking into stillness for the first time since its creation. The challenge was over, the result undeniable. The human turned and began to step away from the puzzle, calm as ever, as if he had only finished a game of chess with himself. No pride, no boasting, only that same small smile on his lips. The silence broke again, but this time with whispers, not laughter, whispers carrying fear, awe, and confusion. "They should not have solved it. This is wrong. What are humans really? What else are they hiding?" The council leader finally rose, his heavy robes dragging against the floor. His voice deep and sharp, though trembling with something close to fear. "Earth," he said slowly, "is not what we thought it was." The words echoed, carried by the silence of the hall, and in that moment, the galaxy's view of humanity began to change. The puzzle was solved, but the real problem was only beginning, because the aliens realized too late that the most dangerous thing about humans was not their strength, not their weapons, but the way they thought. The chamber no longer felt like a place of order. It felt like a storm. The silence that had followed the humans' victory shattered into voices clashing like blades. Every alien speaking, shouting, arguing, the air heavy with confusion and fear. One counselor slammed his clawed hand against the table, his voice full of fire. "This is a trick. The puzzle was flawed. It was broken from the beginning." His words carried, but another counselor shouted back, "No, we all tried it. We all failed. The puzzle was never flawed. Only we were." A tall alien with scales of silver leaned forward, his eyes burning with rage. "Then he cheated. Humans are liars. They twist rules. They must have found a hidden path." But from the shadows, an older scholar shook his head slowly. No hidden path, no trick. The pieces locked in place. The solution is real. I saw it with my own eyes. The noise grew louder, voices colliding, accusations flying. Some against the human, some against each other. The great hall that once looked proud and unshakable now looked weak, divided, afraid. In the middle of the storm, the young human stood calm, his face steady, his eyes quiet. He did not argue. He did not defend himself. He only listened, and somehow his silence was louder than all their shouting. One alien, his body covered in shifting colors, raised his voice above the rest. Do you not understand what this means? If humans can solve this puzzle so easily, then what else can they do? What else have they hidden from us? The room grew quiet for a moment at those words, the question cutting through the noise like a blade. Every leader felt the weight of it, because the star puzzle was not only a test, it was a wall, a line that no one had crossed before, and now that line was broken by a species they had called primitive. A warrior counselor spat on the floor, his armor rattling as he stood. Then they are dangerous, too dangerous. If they can solve in minutes what we could not solve in hours, then imagine what they could build, imagine what they could destroy. Another, smaller alien hissed nervously, his long fingers twitching. Should we stop them? Should we block Earth from advancing further into the stars? This cannot be allowed. This cannot be safe. But a voice from the far side of the chamber rose, calm and strong, an elder with eyes that had seen centuries. And yet, we cannot deny what we saw. They solved what we could not. They thought differently. They saw beyond the rules we chained ourselves with. Is that not a strength worth respecting? Murmurs spread, some agreeing, some shaking their heads violently. The debate splitting the hall into factions. One side calling humans dangerous, the other side calling them brilliant. The council leader raised his hand for silence. But the silence did not last. The fear was too strong. The pride too wounded. Voices rose again, sharper, louder. They are tricksters. They are visionaries. They must be stopped. They must be studied. They are a threat. They are a gift. Every shout clashed, the sound heavy, desperate. The fear of the unknown burning through every word. Meanwhile, the human finally spoke, his voice calm, but carrying across the hall. You fear what you do not understand, he said simply. But fear will not stop the truth. We are not here to replace you. We are not here to follow you. We are here to walk our own path. The words silenced many, but not all. Some hissed angrily, arrogant. Others whispered nervously, perhaps he is right. The human continued, his tone steady. You thought the puzzle was about rules, but the puzzle was about freedom. You were blind to it, because you refused to see beyond what you already knew. He paused, his eyes sweeping across the rows of alien faces. That is why you fear us, because we see things differently, and that difference makes us unpredictable. The silence that followed was heavy, almost suffocating. Aliens shifted uncomfortably in their seats, claws scratching against stone, tails flicking nervously. The debate was no longer just about the puzzle. It was about humanity itself. Finally, the council leader stood, his voice sharp, but trembling beneath the surface. This debate is not over. But one thing is clear. The galaxy cannot look at humans the same way again. His words echoed across the hall. A truth too heavy to escape, because whether they liked it or not, every alien in that room had seen it with their own eyes. A human had solved the impossible, and nothing in the galaxy could ever erase that moment. And so the debate raged on, louder and louder, each voice trying to shape the future. But beneath all the anger and denial, one thought remained, buried deep in the hearts of even the proudest leaders. Humans were not weak, humans were not simple, humans were something else, and that truth could not be debated away. The debate could not last forever. Voices grew tired, throats grew raw. Yet no agreement was found. The hall that once stood for unity now shook with division. Their pride was bleeding, their certainty breaking. The star puzzle still floated in the center, glowing faintly, no longer wild, no longer unsolved. Its silence was louder than their shouting. It was the silent proof of their failure, and the silent proof of the human's victory. For centuries the puzzle had been a symbol, a weapon of pride for the council. They said it was the test of the galaxy's greatest minds, the line that separated the advanced from the primitive. But now, in a single moment, that symbol was destroyed, and it was destroyed not by one of their champions, but by a human. Some counselors still tried to hold on, their voices shaking with anger more than belief. It means nothing. A single puzzle proves nothing. One shouted, but even as he spoke, his eyes betrayed his fear. Others slumped in their seats, their pride collapsing, their faces pale, their eyes empty. They had believed themselves above Earth, above humanity, and now they saw the truth. They were not above, they were not ahead, in some ways they were behind. The younger aliens, those who had mocked the human most loudly, now sat in silence, their laughter gone, their tails curled close, their claws tapping nervously. Shame burned in their throats, but they dared not speak it. The ancient scholar, the one who had warned them earlier, finally rose again, his voice slow, heavy with truth. You do not wish to hear it, but the truth does not need your permission. It stands without you. We failed, and the human succeeded. That is the reality you must face. His words fell like stones into still water, ripples spreading across the hall, and though many tried to resist them, no one could deny them. The council leader's face was pale beneath his heavy crown. His eyes locked on the human, as if searching for weakness, searching for some sign that this was all a dream. But the human stood steady, quiet, his calmness a wound to every proud alien in the chamber. Finally, the leader spoke, his voice low, trembling with something that sounded too close to fear. If they solved this puzzle, if they could see what none of us could see, then perhaps they can see other things too, things we cannot. The whisper carried through the hall like fire. Aliens shifted, eyes darting, claws clenched. For in their hearts the thought had already grown. If humans could solve puzzles in minutes that took them hours, then what else could humans do faster, sharper, better? A soldier alien, his armor heavy, broke the silence, his voice harsh but cracked. If they can think like this, then in war they will be unstoppable. No one laughed at his words, no one mocked, because every mind in that chamber was already painting the same picture. Ships moving in ways they could not predict, strategies no alien could counter, traps sprung before they were even imagined. The collapse of pride became fear. Fear became unease. Unease became silence. The human finally looked up at them, his voice soft, not cruel, but unshakable. You thought we were weak because we are new to the stars, he said. You thought we were behind because we came late. But being new does not mean being slow. Being new means seeing with fresh eyes, eyes unblind by your old rules. Some counselors looked away, unable to hold his gaze. Others glared, their pride still bleeding but alive. Yet none could deny his words. The elder scholar lowered his head, almost in respect. They see differently, he whispered. And that difference makes them dangerous. The human tilted his head, his small smile still there. But this time, there was no warmth in it. We are only dangerous if you try to chain us, he said softly. Remember that. The chamber grew colder, as if the walls themselves had heard his warning. The puzzle glowed faintly, almost like an echo of his words. The collapse of pride was complete. The great council of the galaxy, once untouchable, now sat shaken, divided, and afraid. Their symbol of supremacy shattered by the very species they had mocked. They had thought humans were a joke. But now they whispered in fear of them, and deep inside, though many would never admit it aloud, one truth burned in every alien heart that night. Humans were not just part of the galaxy now, humans were the storm coming to change it,